Hi, good people. This is Deborah. I hope you're having a beautiful day today. Let me read the disclaimer. All information provided on this channel is for educational purposes only. This channel does not promote or encourage the misuse of the information. I will use words that are not intended to offend anyone, but rather to describe my point of view and how I see things. I encourage you to always consider your intuition and your discernment. This study interprets the Bible esoterically and allegorically as a reflection of the human self. It is not intended as a literal or historical reading of Scripture. Now take what resonates with you and what does not resonate with you, put it on the shelf or throw it away. Please, let me just say this. I'm not a Christian. I don't give myself titles. I use my name, and I go by the meaning of my name. All three religions have many things in common. They're operated in religion, and that would be Christianity, that would be Judaism, and that would be Islam, all ruled by male deities. That don't sit well with me. Now, the Bible is an allegory of the inner human journey, not a historical book. Every name, every event, and place symbolizes a process within. You call it consciousness, I call it awareness. Now, Adam and Eve represents the dual forces of the mind and desires within the human psyche. The serpent represents the awakening of energy or thought within matter. Egypt, bondage to the material world and the senses. Israel. If you don't know, I'm going to break Israel down for you. Israel, IS is Isis, which means spirit. Ra is Ra, which means mind. El means God or the elements, the God substance within you. So Israel is just that. The soul striving toward inner liberation. The wilderness. The wilderness is the confusion and purification of the lower nature. Jerusalem is the inner heart of higher state of awareness. The word Christ is the divine light or the higher self being born within. Let's look at the crucifixion for a second. When you look at the cross and what's on the cross, it's the physical body on the cross. It is symbolic. The body on the cross is symbolic. It's for you to know that in order to rise to your higher self, the lower self must be crucified. The physical body represents the lower self that needs to be crucified in order for you to raise your vibration. That is all the crucifixion is. There was never no man on no cross. The only people that was put on the crosses were so-called black people when they hung them. Those are the ones that was put on the tree, which that's where the wood came from. Resurrection, the rising of the divine, I say awareness, you call it consciousness in man. Let me explain to you what resurrection is. When you are in your lower way of thinking and your higher self or the soul, when you yield to the soul, what it does, it resurrects you into life, causing you to remember who you were or who you are. That's all resurrection is. It's not something dead and coming back alive in 3 days. if the body unalive itself, what happens is it stinks. My son has a friend who is a person that works in a home, and so he explained that to me. Now, what I want to do is talk about the lower self and give you scriptures on that. Some of them. That's the carnal way of thinking, the earthly way of thinking. In Genesis 3:19, dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. That's the physical body. The body itself is tied to the material world. Okay, that's the lower self. Romans 7:23, another law in my member, warring against the law of my mind. The divided self, flesh versus spirit. That takes place within you. There is a war that takes place. You call it the first and second thought. That you got two thoughts in your head. The first and second thought. The first thought is your higher self. The second thought is your lower self. And some people don't like to talk about it because they don't want people to look at them funny and say, oh, I'm not bipolar. But you are. Bipolar just simply means two. Bi means two. And polar means the left and the right brain. That's all it is. They tried to make it a sickness. It's not a sickness. It is a natural part of you. Okay, let's Galatians 5:17. The flesh lusted after the spirit. Conflict between lower desires and divine will. I just told you that. There's a war that's going on within you. And it's called the ego. The lower self is the ego. It is the one, when you're born out of your mother's womb, that's what gives birth to your mind, is that ego. That's what take over. That's what takes over, is the ego. Okay? And you have to learn to remember who you are so that ego can be put in subjection. Now, 1 Corinthians 2:14, the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God. The ego self is limited to sense perception. That's why you want to see, touch, feel things, because that's what the ego desires. It desires, if I don't see it, then it don't exist. Your spiritual knows. It knows. So you have to go from seeing it to knowing it. That's what you have to do. Ephesians 4:22, put off the old man, which is corrupt, according to the deceitful lust, the personality bound by illusion. When you are a see, touch, and feel, person, you're in an illusion. You're in an illusion. Because the ego itself keeps you in the illusion. It tells you when your higher self, your spiritual self, tries to put thought in your head, you reject them. Because it scares you. You reject it out of fear because it seems like it's unknown to you. It's not unknown. It seems unknown to you because you don't remember. But you need to start accepting that thought that's in your head, that that appears, and stop calling it the demon. The demon process is your lower self, which is where you are already operating in the illusion. For as long as you're in an illusion and you're thinking something is coming to save you, then you're still in an illusion. If you are reading the Bible and don't understand it from an esoteric standpoint, you are still in an illusion. And that's it. It doesn't matter if you're reading the Quran, if you're reading the Bible, if you're reading the Old Testament, which is what Judaism does. It don't matter. You're still in an illusion. If you're doing festivals, you're in an illusion. If you're calling on these different deities, you're still in an illusion. How do I know? I went through all of them. The lower self, the carnal ego nature. What it does, it seeks control, power, and validation. Validation as in, well, Betsy doesn't say that, Judy doesn't say that, so I don't believe that. You're seeking validation of things or people outside of yourself. Your validation should only be coming from within your soul. Your soul should be the only thing that validates who you are, because people on the outside cannot validate who you are. You act out of fear, you act out of anger, you act out of jealousy, you act out of pride and arrogance, you react to impulsively blames others. You blame others and take instead of taking ownership of yourself. This is the lower self. This is the ego. You're attached to possessions like houses and cars and jobs and husbands and wives and children and mothers and fathers. You're attached to all that stuff. And you can't even know who you are because you're so cluttered. And you're cluttered also with childhood traumas. You can't connect to your spiritual self. So the only way to connect to your spiritual self is that you have to, when your soul is trying to show you what's going on within you, you have to accept it. And once you accept it, the more you accept it, the more it comes up, and the more it just keeps coming up till you get to that real you. Because the real you is covered with stuff. So you live in judgment. You judge this gay person, that homosexual, that lesbian. You're judging the homeless. You're finding reasons why they're homeless. And you don't even know. You don't have a clue. I remember there's a scripture in the Bible and I'm just using it. It's just a literal part of it. Someone asked JC, what did this man do? What did his parents do? And JC said, well, it was no JC, you know that. This happened to this man so that God can be glorified in him. You know, stop thinking that because negative things happen to people that they did something wrong about. I promise you, I have met some people in my lifetime at 69 years old. I have met some people in my lifetime that has not been mean or nasty people. They, in my eyesight, in my experience with them, they were good people, but bad things happened to them. Okay? So people live in resentment and ain't always in comparison. Stop comparing your life with other people's lives. Stop comparing other people's lives with other people's lives, because you don't know them people's journey. You don't know why they're going through. You don't know why Joe Blow has $1 million home and living high and mighty, empty spiritually, because most of them are. And then the person that's on the street, you can't compare, because the person that's on the street probably is more spiritual than the one living in the $1 million home. The one that's living in the $1 million home don't need to be resurrected. And resurrection just means to be lifted in high vibration. They still unhappy. I've met some of them. These people in low vibration, they're always speaking to be heard. And not to understand. And you know them, because if you're in a chat room and you're talking, they gonna overtalk you, which means they ain't heard nothing you said. They just over talking you. And you go in these chat rooms and you hear 3-4 people talking at the same time. None of them listening to each other. Those are people operating in low vibration. Okay? Because if you were operating in high vibration and you're in a chat room, you're going to speak. When that person speaks, you're going to be quiet. And on and on and on. And that's how it works. That's how high vibrational people operate. They don't operate where everybody is talking at the same time. That's rude. and ain't nobody hearing nothing. They're just talking. Speaks to be heard, not to understand. C, separation between self and other. The seeing separation between self and other, thinking that they're better than someone else. That's pretty much what they do. Well, I don't have to, because I got a good job and I got a husband and I got children and I live in a $500,000 home and I got a good job and I'm pretty and I'm fine, and so I don't want to be a part of that. You know them kind of folks. But you walking around, the very people you claim you hate are the very people you trying to look like. Walking around here wearing them long wigs and weave in your head. Girl, stop. Take that mess out your head. Now, let's look at the higher self, the spiritual divine person. Genesis 1:27. God created man in his own image. Now, mind you, none of the characters in the Bible were real. These are just journeys that you should be taking. The divine essence, pure awareness, y'all call it consciousness. Psalms 82:6. Ye are gods. And let me talk about God. God. When you look at the God, the G is generator, which is actually the brain, and which is the power. That's your cerebellum. That's where your crown is. Then when you look at the soul, the O, that's the soul. That's the operator. The soul is the operator. Then when you look at the D is the sacral vertebrae, which is the kundalini. That's the cosmic fire in the back, in your back, down your spine. Okay? So that's what God means. Generator, operator, and destroyer. That's so. Ye are gods. Okay? These are people that have souls. Ye are gods. All of you are children of the Most High. The important spark, the immortal spark within, which is the soul. That's the soul that's within you. Luke 17:21. The kingdom of God is within you. That's the indwelling divine. Romans 8:16. The Spirit itself bear witness that we are the children of God. The highest identity awakened. Now, when someone is in their higher self, or they're in the spirit realm and their way of thinking, and you meet them and you in the spirit realm and your higher way of thinking, y'all gonna connect. You being in your spirit realm and the person is in their lower realm, you're gonna be a witch. You're gonna be a liar, a cheater, whatever, a devil, because that's what you would be to the person that's walking in their ego. Okay? But the one that's walking in their spirit, in their higher self, they already know who you are. So they're not going to waste time with you. And I honestly don't blame them. I wouldn't waste time with you either, because it's like talking to a brick wall. You're trying to explain and reason with somebody in their ego or in their lower self. That is a waste of good energy. Don't do it. Okay. So Galatians 2:20. I live yet not, but Christ liveth in me. The union of the soul with its divine source. Now, they call the soul Christ. They call the soul Horus. They call the soul Buddha. Different cultures got different names for the soul. It's within you. Colossians 3:10. Put on the new man, renewed in knowledge after the image of him. Rebirth into the higher awareness or consciousness. They say I read to you what the scriptures is saying. It's not a him. It's the woman is the spiritual being. Okay, she is the one that is spirit, and man is. Let me just do it like this. Let me just speak it like this. You have protons, neutrons, and electrons. Now, the proton is feminine. That's magnetic. Okay? The neutron is the substance of the great mother, or the substance of the mother. Okay? The proton is white. The neutron is black. And the electron, which is electricity, is masculine. And that is red and blue. That's why they like so much red and blue. But you having a soul, you are feminine and masculine energy. Okay? And most females down here that have souls, they're in their masculine energy. And so in order to get the knowledge that you need to get in your feminine energy. Okay, higher self, spiritual divine. What happens when you are in your operating in your higher, your spiritual self, you are in love, and that's that unconditional love that you cannot get in the earth. That's that love, and let me explain a little bit more about that love. That's that love when you hated somebody. That love just saturates that hate, and you don't hate that person no more. And how you know you don't hate that person no more? Because you have compassion for them. And trust me, this love saturates you, uh, uh, because the people that hurt you did you seriously wrong. This unconditional love is for someone that has been molested, someone that's been raped, someone that's been beat up, someone that's been abused. When you get this love, it saturates that stuff, truly. Because I promise you, if I did not have this, the people that have done me wrong, there's no way I could love them. So, but that's what it does. The peace, I'm not going to say all day and all night you're in peace, but most of the time you are in peace. And the peace that you're in is like a serenity type of peace, in the mind, the inner knowing. When people talk, you like when someone is talking to me and they're telling me a story, I can tell when they're lying. I could tell. And if I go and listen to someone and the video, I know when they're lying. If I read an article, I know when it's the truth and when it's not the truth. That's the inner knowing. You just know what you know. And the higher person, when you're in your highest, you practice forgiveness and compassion. Well, it's not a practice, but you eventually become a forgiving person and have compassion. Um, Respond calmly, takes responsibility, detach from outcome, trust divine order, live in gratitude and humility and service, speaks truth with gentleness and clarity, seeks unity and the same spirit in all being. That's what you see. You see the unity. You see it. The essence, the lower self is the old man. The old man is the ego. That's the dust. That's the illusion. Um, the higher self is the new man. That's the spirit, light, divine mind. You're different. You cannot stay the same. When you go through, it's called alchemy. You go through change. If you call yourself a person that is following what you call Christ, and there's no change that's taking place in you, and you still that old mean thing that you always was, male or female, I don't know what you're worshiping. Um, so all three religion have a male deity. All three. That's Christianity, Judaism, and Muslim. which is false. Now, I want you to take a look at what the word Christian means. It means Cretan. I'm going to spell it for you. It's Cretan. And in the Bible, it means, it'll take you to the word creek, which is Crete. Now, I wanted to give you that and bring it to your attention so you would know when you go around picking on people and calling people out of their names. And I met a young man that called himself a theologian, and he made fun of me talking about the soul. And I noticed 2 times I went on the this girl's channel, and he did that. He called me. Let's see what he called me, a non-Christian. And the second time I went on there, he called me a Muslim. I'm neither one. I don't give myself titles. I am who I am. And I just wanted to give y'all this. And so, until the next time, take care, good people.